Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Kneon. I'm here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're gonna talk about Reylos.
Nuh-uh, they don't exist.
Reylos don't exist.
It's toxic man babies pretending to be Reylos.
It's just a bunch of Fandom Menace types pretending to be Reylos.
That's right.
So we're gonna talk about Reylos and the Save Ben Solo campaign, which is so hilarious because they're petitioning to give Ben a happy ending, and you know we had a happy ending for the trio. In Return of the Jedi.
Yeah, Han, Luke, and Leia all had happy endings too, and then the sequel trilogy just undid all of it. But they don't deserve a happy ending. But you know, we need to give one for Ben Solo.
Ben Solo, who killed his father, you know,
killed off our happy ending.
Killed off
so
our
they
happy
can have
ending.
theirs.
He doesn't deserve shit.
Yeah.
So sorry.
Before we get into this, make sure you subscribe if you haven't done so already. Also, make sure you are still subscribed because YouTube's YouTube, and just because you subscribe doesn't mean you stay subscribed. Blah, 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 blah. Go ahead.
All right, I was going to say conspiracy theory about I just think it's system-wide. They're doing some changes this month that are making some stupid things happen.
That's right.
On YouTube. That's what YouTube, that should be their new slogan. YouTube, we make stupid things happen.
Well, that could apply to many things, so that would actually be a good slogan.
You know who else makes stupid things happen is the media.
Yeah,
and shippers, so we're going to talk about that. Comicbook.com, Star Wars, Adam Driver's Ben Solo at the center of hashtag Save Ben Solo campaign.
Right.
So they want to save Ben Solo because he deserved a happy ending because of their ship.
Yeah, I love this. Some Star Wars fans aren't ready to let go of Kylo Ren after the climax of Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker.
There wasn't one. That's the problem.
There are numerous posts on Twitter listing the numerous, boy, they like the word numerous, reasons Ben Solo's demise was unfair and why it should be rewritten.
By numerous people.
Because, you know, no one has ever been upset about the way a character was treated in Star Wars and thought it should be redone. Ever.
Never.
And what was they called people who thought that they assassinated Luke Skywalker? What was that? Man babies, alt-right Yahtzees, misogynists, racists, incels, etc. That was what was called the people who didn't like the way that they handled Luke Skywalker, how they undid the happy ending for Han, Luke, and Leia. And the same people who were bitching about people who didn't like that are now whining on the internet because they want it their way with Ben Solo.
Yeah, he's toxic. He's a toxic male.
Yeah, he actually is a toxic character.
Killed his dad.
He legitimately is a bad guy. At least with Han, Luke, and Leia, they were good guys, and they undid their happy ending.
He killed his dad. He shows up in your visions with his shirt off, uninvited.
Yeah, he kind of mind raped Rey.
He killed his boss.
Yeah,
I mean, come on. Yeah, he did. He mind raped her. He strapped her to the chair and poked around inside her head.
Yeah, so I'm like, dude isn't like what you call it, boyfriend material.
No, he's not well, I'd say he's not the kind of boyfriend you take home to dad, but maybe to granddad.
Yeah,
you can take him home to granddad. Granddad approves. Well, there was the other version of episode 9, the Colin Trevorrow version, where they actually did hook up and become like emperor and empress of the first, second, third, fourth order, whatever the hell it is now.
I don't even know.
So that's why they're extra salty, because they're like, wait, they could have actually gotten together and ruled the galaxy in terror together, and it didn't happen.
But then that would have made Rey a bad guy.
They don't care.
And well, Disney would have cared because they were putting all their hopes and dreams on their Mary Sue, which didn't work out either. But anyway. So now the Reylos and the Ben Solo apologists are on the bandwagon to undo what has been done. Now these are the people who are mocking people who were wanting to undo what had been done with The Last Jedi. Remember, people were petitioning to have it not be canon, and everything else, and these people were like, "Nuh-uh, it is what it is. Get over it. You racist, misogynist, troll, man, baby, blah blah blah." And now they're campaigning for the exact same thing.
So can we all agree? Can we all agree that the Disney sequel trilogy should not be canon and they should just start over?
There you go. Problem solved.
There we go.
Problem solved.
So Adam Driver is trying to make sense of this.
Yeah, I said to you, notice how you always would hear from Daisy Ridley and John Boyega and Oscar Isaac and those guys, but you never would hear much from Adam Driver. Like he didn't want to get embroiled in it, which I don't blame him at all. Anyway, go ahead.
He says, I don't internalize it, but that's my Am Driver voice. No.
Well, that makes him sound dumb, and it's not his fault.
I don't internalize it because I don't know that it has much to do with me. If anything, I think it has to do with the strength of the movie and what makes these movies universal and stretch across time without my shirt. So this is what he said to Fandango. Yes, obviously there's a huge visual element that's going on that's very satisfying. It's a beautiful look at, but no one will care if you don't care about these human themes. And that are what propel the movie forward. The thing of Luke being a kid from a small town who feels like he's destined for something great, about friendship and discovering your place among your friends, family, and you've acquired, and family you've tied to, things you identify about them with.
Blah, blah, blah.
Blah, blah, blah.
Basically,
he doesn't say anything about it.
He's basically like, I really don't have anything to do with it. I'm just a character in the story, and the story is what people identify with. That's basically what he's trying to say.
But he brings up Luke Skywalker's story. I think that's really interesting. Like, this is what he talks about, is Luke Skywalker's story as a kid from a small town. Like, yeah, and he freaking died.
He didn't get a happy ending. He did, and then you took it away. So I'm just saying. It's
like a kid from a small town makes good, and then he winds up being like a hobo dying in an alleyway somewhere all by himself.
Right. But good news. The Mary Sue comes in and take it all.
Passed out on his green milk. So the only people who still give a shit about the rise of Skywalker are the Reylos, because everyone else has moved on. Mm-hmm. Like, everyone else has moved on. Star Wars fatigue. No, it's not Star Wars fatigue. It's shitty Star Wars fatigue. Has set in. The Rise of Skywalker is the lowest performing of the 3 sequel movies. Mm-hmm. A lot of people did not go back and see it twice. We didn't even go see it once.
Right. A lot of people were so tainted on The Last Jedi, they didn't even want to go see The Rise of Skywalker.
Nobody wants to go see Skywalker's taint. So, although the Reylos, there's probably some fan art for that.
Probably are. No. To be fair, like same with when you had the Fandom Menace and stuff, people were accusing them of harassing people. There's always going to be a small percentage of people who behave badly, and that reflects on the entire group. So not all Reylos behave inappropriately.
No.
Just like not all fans who did not like The Last Jedi behave inappropriately. And what happens is everybody gets painted with a broad brush because of the behavior of the ones that behave the worst.
And we're going to talk about that because now we've got the blame game going on. But this is interesting. Now we've actually got media outlets saying that Star Wars is on the decline. They tried to deny it for years. They told everybody they were crazy.
Well, now they're agreeing with it because they're all mad about Rise of Skywalker because they all were white knighting for Last Jedi for 2 years.
Yeah, you see what happens? You see what happens when the shoe's on the other foot? Everyone seems to feel mostly numb about the end of the Star Wars Skywalker saga. I don't want to speak for too many people, but the declining box office tells its own story. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's done. Star Wars movies are done, but they're like, oh, we're going to take a break. Oh, but we're coming out with another movie in 2 years, but we don't know what it's going to be because the guys we had tapped to do it, we fired them. Creative differences.
Yeah.
Creative differences.
That's what their go-to for Disney and everything. Creative differences.
We're pinning all of our hopes and dreams for Star Wars on the streaming service, and everybody's super excited about the Obi-Wan series, but it's being delayed because creative differences.
Yeah, because what people do like, what everybody's in agreement with, we can't have that. We have to keep it all up, up in the air, and everybody at odds with each other.
So, speaking of, a couple of bad apples making the whole barrel rotten, right? That's kind of what's going on with Reylo's situation. Now, this is complicated. I've been kind of following this on Twitter. I'm trying to make sense of it. But apparently, the Washington Post...
This is funny.
The Washington Post is saying that the Reylos are basically a hoax, threats from Reylos to J.J. Abrams. It's all a hoax. It's all YouTubers and their followers, the Fandom Menace.
It's the Fandom Menace, which is flippin' hilarious to me. So even if you have nothing to do with it, you're still responsible for it.
Absolutely.
I just think it's hilarious.
But what if the Fandom Menace are all pretend and they're all a bunch of Reylos pretending to be the Fandom?
Yeah.
Because
I think we brought that up before.
I ship him hard. I am so salty. We started this channel just to make sure that Lucasfilm would listen to us and we'd get some hot Reylo action. And it didn't happen.
That's right. We're just pretending. We were Reylos pretending to not like Star Wars to get what we wanted.
You should see what's on my hard drive.
What is on your hard drive?
A lot of files, graphics files, and audio, video stuff. And lots of pictures of Reylo fan art. No. No.
This is the dumbest defense I've ever seen.
This is coming from the Washington Post, once a reputable newspaper.
Yeah, so no matter what, it's always the people that they keep blaming, the same people over and over again. They have nothing to do with it, and it's still their fault.
Ah, boy. So Washington Post blasted over claim that a Reylo death threat to Star Wars director J.J. Abrams was a hoax. And we're going to talk about, even if one or two of these people might have been hoaxers...
Which you shouldn't have done that.
You shouldn't have done that. Because,
whether it's a hoax or not, it should never have happened.
If it was actually a quote-unquote Fandom Menace person pretending to be a quote-unquote Reylo, that actually undermines the whole thing. Or it's just somebody that wants to see chaos
But here's the thing. We have had this happen multiple times where people, you can tell, are pretending to be different people. Like, they're a caricature of what they think they would be. We get comments all the time where it's clearly someone pretending to, be on the same side as we are, but then telling us we're bad people. You know, it happens all the time.
Hey there, fellow kids. Because they interact, like, way too much. They say things that are way too cartoonish, and you're like, they're just laying low until...
So could this happen? Yeah, but there was more than just one threat made. Do I think it was all fake? No. I do not, for 1 minute, think it was all fake, because we've seen this behavior, and it's out of line. I mean, from these extremists.
Yeah, we're going to talk about the shipping. We've talked about shipping before. We did a video on She-Ra, and the She-Ra shipping community was very, very salty about an article that they put up on Geek Dad, because Geek Dad accused DreamWorks of baiting the fandom. And I'm going to go back to that after we talk about this and just show that, like, there are tons of examples of shippers. And I'm not saying all shippers.
No, it's just,
I want to be very clear.
The bad actors paint everyone with a broad brush, which is not fair on either side.
So they said that a writer for the Washington Post, Bethany Lucina, made the claim in an article on the Washington Post titled, "The latest Star Wars film satisfies the right wing."
No, it didn't.
Will the left start trolling?
But it didn't satisfy the right wing. A lot of people who, well, first of all, why is this a political thing anyway? Because, like, we're like moderates that lean left. We still don't like the movies, but you're saying anybody who likes it is a Republican, which one is the dumbest thing ever, because we're talking a global thing here, and not everybody in the world is Republican or Democrat. Mind blown, right?
No, you're forgetting about diversity. You're either an American Republican or you're a Russian bot.
I mean, but I'm just saying that they're right wing. What? Because actually, a lot of people who I know, they would classify as this, whether or not they are, it doesn't matter. That they'll just label you, which is bad unless they're the ones labeling. They didn't like it either. So I don't know where they're getting this. That all the people on the right who didn't like Last Jedi loved the last movie, and that's not true. Actually, most of them hated it too. So yeah, I'm just saying.
All right, so yeah, apparently this article, which I did hear about it, but it does tie in with, Adam Driver basically being like, I don't really give a shit. Fandom Menace account manufactured the hoax claiming Reylos were sending death threats to the Rise of Skywalker director J.J. Abrams. So Data Racer, who collects a lot of stuff on Twitter, that is Data Racer 117, who collects a lot of tweets from people. I don't know how he collects all these, but he does. He said that, they said that there might have been one account that might have been a phony account, and because of that, they ran with the story in a major news outlet saying that it was basically the Fandom Menace pretending to be Reylos actually sending the death threats to J.J. Abrams. That's dumb.
Another thing that will blow these people's mind is that just because you don't like those movies doesn't make you Fandom Menace either. Their minds are just exploding right now.
I know, right? Well, I mean, how do we know that the Fandom Menace hasn't just been lying low all this time, waiting for this last movie to come out to tank it?
Because, because they have that much power.
They were pretending all along to love The Last Jedi just so they could destroy the trilogy at the end.
It always amuses me that in one breath it's a vocal minority, and next breath that they supposedly have so much power that they have control over all this. It's just, I wish they would make up their mind.
Yeah, this is insane. Yeah, they're talking about how, Twitter's just a dumpster fire. Data Racer pointed out that a handful of the tweets not coming from Reylos isn't evidence of the entire thing being a hoax. Well, that is true. You can have one or two bad actors, and that's exactly why I think these people, we talk about these pretenders, these pretender accounts. And we've had, look, I got into it a month or two ago with a couple of accounts that were basically, I guess, I describe them almost like sleeper agents. Like they were pretending to be actual followers of our channel or actual viewers, but they really weren't. They just wanted to wait.
You can verify that, by the way.
Yeah, you can. But they were kind of just lying in wait to, pounce when they thought they could, and then when they got called out for it, they got really salty, brought in back up from a bunch of like random accounts. And I'm just trying to sit here and think, like, what motivates these people? Like, how do you have that much free time?
They're being paid to do it? I don't know.
Well,
here's my thing too. How come right away, if there's something bad that Reylo supposedly did, it automatically is up for question because it could be fake accounts. But when Kelly Marie Tran was supposedly bullied, quote unquote, bullied off of social media, it was automatically the people who didn't like The Last Jedi. It wasn't possibly maybe fake accounts pretending to be those people.
So if Adam Driver quits Instagram or quits Twitter, are they going to blame the Reylos?
No, they'll somehow make it the Fandom Menace accounts pretending to be Reylos.
Yeah, the Fandom Menace pretended to be Reylos, and they drove poor Adam Driver off the
That's what I'm saying.
Internet.
Because it's like when they had, Kelly Marie Tran supposedly being harassed off of the social media, they immediately said it was because of the people who didn't like The Last Jedi. And I'm not going to say Fandom Menace, because there's a lot of people who don't like The Last Jedi that have nothing to do with the fandom, that aren't Fandom Menace. So, I mean, it's kind of dumb to say that that's everybody, because it's not. And then they immediately pointed fingers and said it was them. Well, if we know that they pretend to be other people, and according to the Washington Post, people pose as other groups, how do we know that it wasn't Reylos doing it and pretending to be the Fandom Menace to cause trouble for them?
How do we know it wasn't a Reylo pretending to be Fandom Menace, pretending to be a Reylo?
I know, right?
And actually, all of them are on the take from somebody at Comcast pretending to be Disney, pretending to be Comcast so they could point to... I'm trying to take the strings, but the thing is, this sounds insane, but we've seen it firsthand. We've seen it, that there are basically, these sleeper accounts on Twitter, especially on Twitter. Twitter is like ground zero for these activist types. They have way too much free time. Like, again, the lengths that they have to go to do this, the amount of time they have to spend, and a lot of them, they're talking back channel, trying to coordinate stuff and all. I mean, it's just insane. We saw it with comic books. We saw, when there was pushback against comic book YouTubers, that there were all these people that had like way, way, way too much free time.
Yeah.
That were like, they could not stand it, that there were people on YouTube that they disagreed with. So they spent like every waking moment trying to figure out how to destroy them.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy.
The Washington Post is defending Reylo, saying the harassment of J.J. Abrams was a hoax created by the alt-right Fandom Menace, except not everybody that, doesn't like The Last Jedi is Fandom Menace, nor are they all alt-right. Woke Star Wars fandom was telling Reylos to stop sending threats and harassment. Yeah, well, you know what? When everybody was claiming that people were sending threats and harassment to Kelly Marie Tran, people like us were on here telling people you should never behave that way because it's not okay. So water's wet. I mean, of course people told them not to do it. The same happened on the other side. I mean, it's not like it's one side who's good and one side isn't.
Yeah, here we have tons and tons and tons of examples of people telling Reylos to knock it off, including an author, I guess, of one of Star Wars books, Last Shot, Daniel Jose Older. Tell me, Reylos, honest question, why you pile on so hard? I know it's not just me, it's anyone who doesn't agree. People have been getting cursed out in my mentions. What is it that makes you feel like being heavy in someone's mentions makes this a better conversation or makes sense? So we've got an actual Star Wars author calling these people out. And this happens a lot. We saw it especially with Steven Universe, where they tried to blame people who didn't like the show, but it turned out was actually these like deranged superfans, the shippers, that were actually making threats against storyboard artists.
Well, not just that, they did that one thing where they actually had the people pretend they had that movement. Was it 4chan or something that they went and
they whitewashed all.
They whitewashed all the characters. They made them like they made the fat characters thin and stuff. And then when they got attacked for doing it, because how dare they? The one guy pretended to be a trans person. And then said that, well, I'm sorry, I just wanted to be part of the discussion, but and when they did that, they're like, oh, we're so sorry, we're so
Tumblr.
sorry, it was
God.
the Tumblr people, it was on Tumblr, and it was Tumblr, and I'm just like, that's like that, it's you know, it's just a bunch of crap. But I've seen how vicious these people get firsthand, and it's ridiculous. Like, they'll threaten death. They'll try to harm you.
They'll put needles in your effing cookies.
They did.
We'll talk about that. We're going to talk about that, you know, fandom
Not
going
our
too far.
cookies. Just
no.
you know, clarification.
And you know, we love talking to people, but if we're at a con and you bring a plate of cookies and we
or
don't
any
know
food,
you,
we we're not going to eat it.
I probably am not going to eat it.
We'll be polite to you, but we were not going to eat it.
I'll just tell you, I'm diabetic and allergic to, you know, hypodermic needles in my food. But yeah, there seem to be some documented admissions. That's the thing too. These people are so stupid. They like tweet what they're gonna do. You know, I mean, you realize that like once it's out there, once you put a tweet out there, it's pretty much, you know, somebody's got it somewhere.
Yeah, people take screenshots all the time.
Yeah, and then they try to backpedal. It's like, stop using Twitter as your journal or something. But they talked about how apparently she was so distraught that they were making threats and all kinds of crazy stuff.
Wait, this her coworker was making?
Yeah, her coworker. She was traumatized about this. She was burning all the merchandise and toys as protest. Movie.
She can do it, but when EVS, you know, does it with you know, Rose Tico figures, he's you know, crazy. She loved the character and saw him as her dark prince.
Not EVS, but
Kylo Ren.
Yeah,
a fellow victim of a difficult childhood. As far as I know, her only child difficulty was that her dad walked out on her mom. I tried to be understanding, but lost it at her compassion so much. Wait, at her compassion to much darker events. He's a character. I know.
I tried to be understanding, but lost it at her comparison to much darker events. He's just a movie character. She's too old to act like this, and that I didn't appreciate the comparison to my real trauma. She knows about it. So basically, you're saying like, you don't understand. You don't understand. I understand Kylo, what he's going through. Meanwhile, Adam Driver's like, yeah, I don't really give a shit. I cash the checks and go home.
Wait. So I saw her posting status after how heartbroken she is by this movie and how she feels everyone has betrayed her. And this movie has put her in a dark place so much she feels like she wants to harm herself and stop eating. It's a movie. Now, anybody who didn't like The Last Jedi was told they should just get over it and suck it up because they, you know, it's just a movie. It's for the children.
It's for the children.
That's what they said. It's a kids movie. So, you know.
So again, when the shoe is on the other foot,
I think this person needs to. They need to go find a therapist.
Yeah, this is mental.
That person really needs help. I mean, obviously.
But the thing is there's look, and this is statistically a very, very small portion of any fandom. These people, there are people who have like legit mental and emotional trauma disorders, and they latch on to
they can't separate
fictional
reality.
characters. I mean, you know, and then they'll be like, well, you guys were making all kinds of, you were upset about Lucas. Like, look, being angry about decisions being made that destroys a franchise that has existed for decades is a lot different than I'm going to be suicidal because my ship didn't happen.
Right.
You know,
or the character I like got killed in a movie. That's you know, that person needs help. I mean, that I'd get that person help immediately.
I mean, this is just crazy. But yeah, again, this is just the media trying to be like, it's all the Fandom Menace's fault, even when it's not.
Yeah, I know.
It's the Fandom Menace in disguise.
It's always, even when you know, it's always Fandom Menace. No matter, it's never somebody else in disguise. It's always them. They're always at fault.
Yeah, Twitter users are shocked that the Washington Post article was actually published and see it as another sign of the eroding credibility of the legacy media. Well, no, anymore, not the newspapers, but the online versions of these magazines and newspapers have become clickbait farms. That's basically it. They're fighting to survive, and the only way they can survive is to shock you.
We've been calling this out since
Day one.
Before we even started doing our videos.
Yeah.
I mean, that you can trace a lot of this saying the media was full of shit back to us. So I mean, and this is no surprise to us.
Yeah, so this is, people were shocked about this. I'm not. I'm not shocked about it.
No, I'm not either. This is typical. We've
talked about this before, and there is a really good article, and I'll put a link to it on Geek Dad. And he talks about, this is Sean Z, and he talks about fans who take it too far and they make it personal. Again, never in a million years, you can vehemently disagree with the direction that somebody's taken a franchise in or whatever, and sit down and talk about even how angry you are, but you never, ever, ever make death threats. You never, ever, talk crazy, and they're you don't do it.
And like I said, sadly, it's a very, very small percentage of any group that behaves this way, but it ends up painting the entire group with that brush, and it's not okay. Just because someone's a Reylo doesn't mean they're a bad person.
No,
they're the ones doing it. Actually, probably 99% of them aren't the ones doing it. Same for if you don't like Last Jedi or you're a fan of Menace. There's probably a small percentage that are doing things, but the vast majority are not the ones out there making threats or behaving badly. I mean, that's just rational.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, and this is why people are like, why don't you throw in with a certain group? Why don't you throw in with a certain hashtag?
We don't ever throw in with groups.
Whether it's a Fandom Menace or Comicsgate or whatever, the reason we don't, okay, is one, we're probably not going to agree 100% with whatever the group agrees with. Two, I don't want to be responsible for some wackadoo using the group hashtag or name to go do something really stupid. You know, I don't want to be associated with that. So, I mean, we've got our opinions on comics. We have our opinions on Star Wars. But as far as officially throwing in, I don't want to do that because, again, I don't want to be responsible for somebody else's stupid...
We haven't ever thrown in with Comicsgate or Fandom Menace, either one. Because we don't always agree 100%. And you're allowed to agree or disagree. And that's okay. But, there are people, no matter what group it is, that take things too far. And sadly, everybody gets blamed. So
yeah, and that's just it. Because now, again, it's a blanket statement. Oh, the Fandom Menace are awful people. The Reylos are awful people. Instead of being like, on an individual basis, you have some people that are clearly mentally ill.
Right.
That need some help or emotional support or a hobby or something, and it gets distilled down to
groups are always judged on whoever is interpreted as the worst part of that group.
Yeah.
Always.
Yeah.
Whenever you hear a news story, it's never about the good things that people do. It's usually part of this group and what one person did that was terrible. I mean, let's be honest. Go ahead. What are you going to say?
But this is very normal. I mean, if you work in maybe not so much in comics, I'll tell you the truth. The reason comics people seem to be immune to a lot of the shipping stuff, is comics now skew older and not very many people read comics compared to what it used to. But if you're working in animation, especially animation, you will get threats from...
If you're a fan artist, like on Tumblr with a lot of followers, that kind of thing, you're gonna get issues.
Yeah, so we have numerous examples of shippers who've gone too far, Harry Potter fans who have gone too far. Some of the biggest, most egregious threats came from Voltron, people who were salty, they didn't get their ship. I'm hearing from... I think Hirohei put a video out there about Ruby. I guess the Ruby fandom's up in arms now because they killed a character off, and that's going to ruin a ship. So now they're turning on Rooster Teeth when the same people 6 months ago were attacking people who were critical of Rooster Teeth from a business standpoint.
Yeah.
I mean, it's again, emotions aren't always logical, and a lot of people have other things going on. But the biggest example I can think of was actually Steven Universe. Pretty benign cartoon, but it's got a very fierce fan base. And yeah, they were trying to, so this wasn't Steven Universe, but we do know that they did send death threats to one of the storyboard artists because she drew what they considered to be clickbait or queer bait of two Steven Universe characters that were not approved.
Right.
They weren't an
It was
approved
just a fan
ship.
art piece that she thought would be fun.
Yeah, and she actually works on the show.
And she ended up she ended up quitting, didn't she? Or no, she quit Twitter.
She quit
Tumblr.
Twitter. Yeah, I think she might quit both. We had another Tumblr artist. She was pretty well known, I believe, and she drew Rose too thin. So people
I remember that.
People attacked her because Rose was too thin.
She ended up being suicidal, wasn't she, because of it?
Yeah. And then we talked before. I'm trying to think.
Well, there's the thing is that there was someone drawing art for Undertale.
And
someone gave them cookies at an event that were filled with needles.
Needles. That's what we're talking about. Needles, cookie. And it's again, this is like, we're talking misery. We're talking Stephen King misery, where things don't go the way you want them to go in a fictional, movie. And again, it's totally fine to be angry. It's totally fine to complain. But the line is crossed when there's any kind of physical... real world repercussions
or threats,
threats, even calling for people's jobs. I never think that's okay. Like, I can say, hey, I don't think this director's quite cut out for whatever, but I'm not going to petition unless that director did something really egregious to get them removed. we talk about, Kathleen Kennedy. We're just surprised. We're like, why isn't she?
Well, she should
getting
be
gone?
removed.
Because money talks at the end of the day.
In my opinion, she should be removed. But I'm not going to go call Disney up and be like, hey, I'm a shareholder, remove her ass.
Yeah,
they'll just laugh at me and,
it's like, you don't own enough shares to tell us anything. Go away.
That's
Go away.
True.
But yeah, when it crosses the line and it gets into physical threats, incredible threats, and I've seen it on Twitter.
Well, people were swatting people.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw Peter Simeti got, police doing a stream, came into his house, and he had guns pointed at him because people were mad at him because they didn't like the way he had told people that if you want to work with our publishing arm, you cannot block people on Twitter unless you have a personal good reason. Like, they deliberately threatened you specifically. And because of that, people were mad, so they went and called the police and had him swatted.
Yeah. And sometimes it's like, you find out what the motivation is for some of this stuff, and it winds up being, like, really stupid. It's like, it's not, but to the person doing it, it's not. Like, this is their world. To them, this is their world, and you just destroyed their world. And it's the same with a lot of people with, maybe somebody got fired from a job, or they're not going to make a sequel to this or that or whatever. And I think it actually extends to some of the journalists who just, like, go on and on and on about being ass mad that The Last Jedi was walked back, because they take it very, very personally.
Yeah, after they told everybody else that they were bad people for not liking The Last Jedi.
Right.
Now that they don't like The Rise of Skywalker, it's okay to not like it now. It's just fair. You're allowed to have your opinion when it's their opinion being questioned.
Yeah, we've seen this so many times. So many news outlets that were spending, months, years attacking Star Wars fans who didn't like The Last Jedi, telling them to get over it, grow the hell up, whatever. And as soon as The Rise of Skywalker drops and pretty much undoes everything The Last Jedi did, badly, then they just completely freaked out. Well, Star Wars is done. Star Wars is declining. Star Wars is done. Screw Star Wars. It's like, what? Welcome to the club.
That's what I say. Welcome to the party, pal.
Welcome to the party. But yeah, so I don't know. Pretty sad turn of events, but Adam Driver doesn't seem to give a shit. So
he has bigger things to worry about.
He does. He's actually, I think, going to have a career beyond this.
He's already separated himself a long time ago. You hardly ever see him talk about it. Everybody else was out there all the time, and you hardly ever saw him. And I think he just, it was a job. He's worried about his family, and he's moved on to other things,
Yeah. No, they're not going to make an episode 10 where Ben comes back to life and they get together and have a wedding and little Sith babies.
And they're both Skywalkers.
Everybody's a Skywalker now. Yeah,
that's right.
Not going to happen. She's going to die a spinster with a loth cat.
That's right. Lots of loth cats.
Lots of loth cats in Luke Skywalker's old house. That's what's going to happen. All right, going to wrap it up?
Yep.
Okay, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, and we'll talk later.
Bye.
Hey guys, thanks for watching Clownfish TV. Please consider supporting the channel. Go to clownfishsupport.com. That's clownfishsupport.com. And if you want to join our community, go to clownfishtalk.com. That's clownfishtalk.com. Please subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. We will talk to you next time.